Do you want to know one thing I've learned about you while doing this podcast?
I have a feeling that I won't like the answer.
No, you'll love the answer. You have very poor time management skills, and because of that, we have not been able to thank the lovely people who have left us reviews. We haven't been able to talk about previous episodes, and we haven't been able to talk about our first email.
To be perfectly fair, this is a partnership, so my lack of time management skills should be compensated for. You just let me run and ramble, so that's on you.
Okay, so Tyler's Fast Facts in Clockwork Orange was all on me?
Yes.
No, it was Mr. Word Vomit over here.
It's still on you to control what I say.
Oh, right. I forgot I'm supposed to bring the whip into the podcast. Remind me next time.
Don't tempt me.
Okay, that took a very weird turn, and I'm very sorry for anyone that had to listen to that. So I wanted to thank Average Guys, which is a podcast who was supposed to be on our Scott Pilgrim episode, but because of technical difficulties, they weren't able to come on our end to our technical difficulties.
We are working on it, we promise. It's just that speakers give some feedback on our system, and
we're not able to record more than one host at a time. And so that's kind of
that's
the problem.
The other problem where we can't record.
Yeah, it might be the bigger problem, but regardless. But they did leave us a review, and it says, this podcast introduces some very interesting debates and conversations about movies, all while having a great time. I enjoy both sides of the debate. I did want to mention that when people say they enjoy both sides of the debate, they're really trying to be nice, because we both know that they only enjoy my side.
I don't think that's entirely fair. My side of the argument sometimes is worth
making fun of?
No, but I have valid opinions from time to time. No, yes.
Sure, absolutely. Yep, you have valid opinions, like when you forgot that Joss Whedon was the director of...
You have to let that go. They gave me my nerd card back.
People don't let it go.
You have to let it go.
No, well, I mean, I'm just saying the listeners don't let it go. So, we should probably give a little shout out to our first email as well, Phyllis.
Oh, Phyllis. We love Phyllis. So she wrote us an email, first one ever we've gotten, and it was great. Fantastic to read commentary from people that message us. She starts off by saying, it's my first podcast ever. You guys are awesome. My late husband and I were totally you two. I'm Team Kirk. He was Team Picard. I was Team Pertwee. He was Team Baker. Hell, I even prefer shopping at Target, and I think JBL speakers have a better sound. He liked Kmart and Infinity. So that's just a piece of it. It was a very long, nice email, and we do want to say thank you.
Well, yeah, so, I mean, I'm guessing she got some impression that we must not agree on things, which I have to say, in fairness, is very odd, because the episode that she was referring to, according to the title of the email, was A Clockwork Orange, and I feel like we agreed quite a bit in that episode.
But I also think that we do disagree on basically everything at all times.
I don't agree with you.
You just... I won an argument. Hold on. This is a momentous day in our... Not even for the podcast, just in history.
Yeah, sarcasm doesn't work with you. It's cute, but okay. So anyways, this is Cinematically Correct. I'm Shay.
I'm Tyler. And this week we are doing my choice, Tucker and Dale vs. Evil, which I kind of enjoyed. It's a nice lighthearted movie.
Right, we needed a movie to break up the intense movies that we had been going down. I had not seen Tucker and Dale. I had actually only heard very few things about it before you picked it for the podcast.
Well, I had seen it, full disclosure. It's a movie that I really enjoyed because it's a weird genre-bending comedy horror movie, it plays with all of the historical tropes for horror movies and makes fun of them.
Historical tropes?
Not in terms of history tropes, but in terms of all the tropes from horror movies that have been done in the past, like the weird creepy guy at the gas station warning the kids, the chainsaw over the head chasing a kid, all of those things. It plays with those classic ideals from horror movies. Do you not agree?
I do. So what's the movie about?
The movie is about these two hillbillies. They're called that in the movie. I don't actually believe with that term because it seems a little bit offensive. But they go up to their cabin, and then a bunch of teenagers in college-age kids, go up to the cabin and start dying, basically.
You just said hillbillies seem offensive?
Yeah.
You understand that was also a trope, right?
I am aware of that. I don't really want to alienate our podcast viewers by saying things and then not preface it by saying that I don't like...
So you don't want to acknowledge a trope that was done within the movie because you're afraid of offending somebody by said trope?
Yes.
That was done in the movie that you chose?
Yes. I feel like this is the trap.
I'm just trying to understand the logic that just came out. But okay, sure, yeah. Mm-hmm,
it's my own special type of logic.
Totally get it.
So, the movie starts off with them in the woods, and...
It does not start off with them in the woods. It starts off with them at a gas station.
In the middle of West Virginia, in the middle of nowhere. It's not like a gas station on the corner.
You're afraid of offending people by saying hillbillies, but you're saying a gas station in Virginia is in the middle of the woods, and that's not offensive.
This particular gas station was in the middle of the woods. I'm not saying that all gas stations in all of West Virginia are in the middle of nowhere. I'm saying that this one gas station for the start of the movie was in a rural setting.
Okay, fair, but it was not in the middle of the woods.
Kind of.
In the middle of nowhere. Okay, we can go with that.
A lot of
woods.
In
the middle of the woods, it was a gas station.
It was on a road that cut through a forest that there was no civilization for however many miles.
Wow. Okay, all right. You're trying not to be offensive, but I really am curious what people who live in Virginia are going to say about this.
It's West Virginia, and...
Oh, okay, West Virginia. I'm sorry, we're being specific about who we're offending. I didn't know.
Great. This is going down a wonderful path.
No, I'm really having fun. Keep going.
Well, it starts off with Dale, who is a delightful man.
Is this the new man crush? Are we dethroning Tom Brady?
No, he just... Tucker and Dale are the two self-proclaimed hillbillies, and Dale is... basically a giant marshmallow teddy bear in person form. Like, he's just the nicest person ever.
What's a marshmallow teddy bear?
I don't know. He is so innocent, so sweet, and so caring.
Was that your way of saying he was fluffy?
He was definitely fluffy.
We're working on not being offensive. I'm just trying to follow. Okay.
So this is going down a path that I don't want to go. So
no, I will agree. I loved him. He was probably my favorite character that I've seen in a movie in a long time. He's just adorable on so many levels. Way more adorable than other people that I associate with in my life, including you.
That seems hurtful for no reason.
But marshmallow would not have been the term I would use. Teddy bear I'll go with, but marshmallow...
Okay, teddy bear. He starts off by hitting on one of the girls holding a scythe.
Way to make that sound creepier than it was.
It's just, he is so innocent. He doesn't think about the negative connotation about it. He's just holding on to it.
I would say he hit on her. He was trying to have a conversation with her. The movie was very clear that he was not trying to be creepy. He was
not creepy. He definitely had a huge crush on her, and he wanted to start a conversation.
So that equals hitting on her?
I think that he would have liked to ask her out on a date there. That was his intention, yes.
But that's not what he did.
Right, because he
tried to open dialogue.
With a scythe, and he didn't do it very well. It was poorly executed.
It was poorly executed, but hitting on her, I feel, is harsh terminology.
Hitting on somebody is not harsh terminology. It's just that he was trying to start a conversation with a girl with the intent of asking her on a date.
I don't know. When I think of the term hitting on, I think of like,
the creepy
hey
guy at
girl,
the bar.
Come here often type situation.
That's not what I'm meaning by hitting on. Hitting on is anything where you're trying to get a date with a girl.
I forget that getting dates were really hard for you, so you don't understand the distinction. No, I get it. I'm sorry. I forgot about that.
And this is going to be contained on the podcast for all posterity. Thank you for that.
You're welcome. I'm always here to help you out.
No, that's not helpful. Why would you do that to me? So the college kids forgot beer, which is the worst thing you can do when you're camping. And
I don't have anything to add to that. For anybody that doesn't know, I don't really drink at all. So
yeah. Well, so they get beer at the gas station. They go on their way, and they go skinny dipping, and then Tucker and Dale are night fishing, as you do.
Wait, slow. So I just wanted to stop at the skinny dipping thing for a moment. So there is a website called, I think it's Common Sense, I believe is the name of the website. And they do child reviews.
Yes.
And they're adorable. And I've never seen them before this movie, but they're adorable. But almost 85 to 90% of those child reviews had a problem with the nudity in that scene.
What, that there was nudity in the scene?
Yeah, they were very disappointed that the nudity wasn't like more explained before the movie started. Like it didn't like give a warning, or most websites don't give a disclosure about it. So I was just really interested in that because
this movie's rated R. Like there was a lot of violence in this movie, and a pair of boobs from across a dark lake through trees. It wasn't a great nudity scene.
Well, I mean, as a kid, would you have complained about nudity?
No, I don't understand what kids these days are spoiled with readily accessible pornography on the computer. Because when I was a child, any chance for nudity was a good thing, regardless of how.
When you were a child?
When I was a teenager.
Only then, or sorry, just try and clarify.
Yes, I have also discovered pornography. Thank you. That's great.
You're welcome. But I just thought that was cute. I mean, they were adorable about it. I mean, one of them was saying that they were very disappointed in a website for not noticing the nudity because I noticed it and it was very obvious. And
it was not that obvious.
Adorable.
It was not very obvious.
It wasn't. I didn't even know there was nudity in the movie, and I would say I'm kind of a prude when it comes to nudity. Like if it's not for a purpose, I don't really appreciate it. Like, I get it if, like, in a horror movie, like, it needs to happen for whatever reason. Like, you know, they get killed when in the shower or whatever, and you have to show it.
Or they go skinny dipping, and then that advances the plot.
Right, as long as it advances the plot. But, like, there's TV shows that some people watch that are just nudity for nudity, and I'm not a fan. So, if I didn't notice it, I find it adorable that little kids notice it and post reviews about it online.
Are those little kids or the little kids' parents that were
no, by the wording, it was definitely children.
And they were complaining about not having enough nudity.
No, they were complaining about the fact that there was nudity and there wasn't enough warning.
I don't think children should be watching this movie. I mean, it's a funny movie, but it's not a child movie. It's not. What do you mean, It's full of dismembered people and blood and guts and...
Oh, please. The blood in this movie was clearly like...
Oh, it was definitely fake.
Something. It was very, very dark colored. It wasn't...
It was definitely fake blood, yes, but
really?
Still.
Was it fake blood? I thought, like, when they put him in the wood chipper, he actually died, and there was really his blood.
Yes, they sacrifice actors, the unlucky actors in horror movies that have to die. They do that for their art.
Yeah, I figured. I mean, just like the kids in this movie who were sacrificing themselves from Tucker and Dale's perspective.
Well, they were, to be perfectly fair. They were just jumping into wood chippers and impaling themselves and lighting themselves on fire.
Before you jump ahead, so nudity, and then what happened after the nudity?
So one of the girls is getting undressed. She doesn't get entirely undressed. She's in underwear. And then she sees the two guys fishing, freaks out, falls in the water and bashes her head, knocks herself unconscious, and they go over and pull her out of the water.
Save her.
Save her life, because they're good people. And then they say, "We have your friend," or "We got your friend."
Yeah, we got your friend.
And this is where communication is key, because the whole movie hinges on that 1 second. Right. Because the college kids just immediately freak out and assume the worst, that the hillbillies have kidnapped their friend, and they're going to take her back to their cabin to do unspeakable things.
Right.
Which... I don't know why you would go there as the first thought. I mean...
You don't know why you would assume that somebody was going to do terrible things to your friends when you met said people at the gas station and they were super creepy and you thought that they were axe murderers. And then you find the same people you thought were axe murderers take your friend in a boat away and scream, "We've got your friend," and you don't understand why?
Well, I don't understand why you don't say... bring her here. Let's see if she's all right or something.
They didn't see her fall.
Yeah.
So they're assuming they just kidnapped him. Like, they didn't see her fall off the rock.
I don't know. It was poorly done by Tucker and Dale. I will grant you that. But at the same time, you just don't automatically assume the worst of someone just because they were intimidating at a gas station. Also, they don't know if they're the same people. It's a dark lake and they can't really see very well. So
I'm pretty sure one of them said, "Isn't that them?"
Probably.
I'm pretty sure one of the girls picked up on it.
But at the same time, I don't know. I would try to get my friend back from them.
Oh yeah, I would totally negotiate with somebody who had a scythe.
They don't have a scythe on a fishing boat.
But they don't know that.
It's a boat.
What does that mean? You can't lay it down?
There's not a whole lot of room. No.
Okay, well, all I know is that's what I would be thinking, is I'm not negotiating with someone who just walked up to me and tried to chat with me with a scythe in his hand.
I guess that's our differing of opinion.
Well, you're also like a large man.
Yes, I do have a different frame of reference than you do because you're 5'0".
5'1.5", rude.
5'1.5". All right.
Thank
so
you.
You're tiny and a woman.
Not.
I'm a large gentleman. I'm 6'2". Yes, that's true. And well over 200 pounds. We're not going to get into that on the podcast.
I wasn't getting into it, but you volunteered that information. So then they take her back to the cabin, and Dale is adorable and wants to play board games with her.
Well, he does. We don't know he's adorable yet, really. We just know he's a guy. And then he walks in with breakfast, and then she recoils in terror. And he's like, oh, you hate pancakes. And he goes back and makes her a brand new breakfast, which you thought was the most adorable thing ever.
And then comes out and goes, please don't tell me you hate eggs and bacon. It was the cutest thing ever. Like,
and then he wants to play board games, and he says that his dog is really friendly, even though his dog looks like a murderer. Like that dog is
adorable.
That dog is vicious looking. Like it's a nice dog, but at the same time, it doesn't look very friendly.
Well, that's the trope.
Well, that I know.
Duh.
So that's one of the many tropes in this movie.
Right. So then he wants to play board games. He's really good at Trivia Pursuit. Pretty sure he has a photographic memory. Pretty sure.
Well, I think it would be eidetic memory, but...
Well, I looked it up and it's photographic, but cool.
To me, they're basically interchangeable.
Not getting into it. But anyway, so he plays with her and crashes her, basically.
Which leads to another funny scene where they're out walking to try to find their friends, and then like you're playing, you beat her you beat her ass, didn't you? And then they're like talking about that, and he's like, yeah, I killed her.
And I want to finish her off.
I don't want to finish her off when we get back to the cabin. And then of course, the college kids assume that they're talking about actually beating and killing, which I can understand in that case, because that is really not a great segue.
Right, and that scene happens right after the college kids find one of their friends impaled in the yard because he was running when he saw Tucker with a chainsaw being chased by bees, and he assumed that Tucker was chasing him when Tucker was really trying to get away from the bees, which the bees won. The bees won that fight.
Yeah, I'd be dead. I'm allergic to bees, so don't.
Right. So he sawed into a beehive, which was hilarious when he said it to Dale, because he was like, what happened to you? And he's like, I sawed into a beehive. Why?
That was dumb.
No, he just said, why?
I didn't do it on purpose.
Adorable. So it was another trope that they take on in this movie is the sorority girl, blonde, elitist type chick in most of these kind of movies, because the girl that there were two
blondes.
I'm getting there. The girl that they quote kidnap, but they don't actually kidnap her, but save her, was this gorgeous girl sorority girl, whatever, who ends up really like getting along with Dale quite well and giving him a chance, and she's a psych major, and she takes the time to get to know him for him and not just for what he looks like.
And she grew up on a farm, so she's used to the whole being in the woods, and
she's able to dig a hole and
dig her own grave, or
as they had seen it. Yes, so
I did like that. These kids die in the dumbest ways. So running into a tree and impaling yourself, I can actually see, because I've done something similar in my life.
Okay.
Well, so I was running through one of my neighbor's yards, and there was one of those old zip lines for kids, not clearly marked.
Okay.
And it's just invisible, and
You're just oblivious, but okay. Mm-hmm.
They're hard to see.
Okay.
It's an invisible piece of cable.
Okay.
And I ran into it. So I can understand that. It hurt like a hell. But
hurt like a hell?
Hurt like hell. But some of these deaths are inexcusable.
Like running face first into a wood chipper?
Yeah, don't ever do that.
Yeah, it was confusing, to say the least.
Or what else? Smoking in a house that's on fire next to gas. If
well, she was the dumb blonde. Like, she was the epitome of dumb blonde.
Yes, but even a dumb blonde knows to get out of a burning house, I would imagine.
Well.
Like, this is...
She probably kind of gave up, figured she was going to die anyway.
Well, this is right up there with, like, the Darwin Awards. I don't know if you've heard about the Darwin Awards.
Obviously, I've heard of the Darwin Awards, but thank you for questioning my intelligence.
It was a big thing a while ago, but not everyone was into it. And it's just stupid people doing stupid things to kill themselves. And
it reminds me of that game, Dumb Ways to Die.
Or the TV show 1,000 Ways to Die, or whatever it is.
Yeah. So either way.
But I can't imagine who jumps into a wood chipper? I can't know. Like, that one was just so unconscionable.
It was. Okay, so I think we've talked to the deaths. Another trope that they kind of harp on a lot in this movie is the Chad character.
Oh, God, Chad. I hate that Chad. I hate most Chads, but that Chad in particular. Right,
and I mean, I feel like when I saw the Chad character right away, I hated him, and I didn't know why I hated him. So I looked up on Urban Dictionary what the definition of a Chad is, and it's super long, so I'm not going to read it all. But it says, a stereotypic douchebag asshole, jock frat boy with an ego the size of the planet who needs a swift roundhouse kick to the jaw, a la Chuck Norris style, though if actually issued by Norris, this punishment may be too extreme even for a Chad. Basically, they think they're the best of everything, love to talk shit, and are a general nuisance in every possible way. Which I think is a fair sum up of what I've always envisioned a Chad to be.
Yes. I apologize to anyone that is named Chad that is listening to our podcast, but if you are a frat boy douche, then I retract the apology.
I don't think there's anybody named Chad that isn't one of those, but...
Well, you've alienated all Chads now.
And you alienated the whole state of Virginia. So.
West Virginia.
Oh, man. Anyway.
But I want to add that the internet community added a last name to Chad, which I find fantastic.
Oh, boy. Here we go.
It's Chad Thundercock.
That would be the best name. Is that a porn name or is that just a name?
I don't know, because it's to convey the fact that he does well with women, because women, according to internet losers that never talk to women, always go for the asshole. That's the trope. So they always go for the frat boy, jackass asshole, when it's really they're going for the person that has enough confidence to talk to them.
Okay.
And so they are very jealous, so they assign that name as both an insult and a term of respect because they do poorly with women.
Gotcha.
And, yeah.
I found it interesting that this Chad was quite the little man. He was like a tiny little man, and I don't usually picture Chads that way. I always picture them like kind of big and buff.
Oh, muscly out and just on creatine and all that. Like.
Yeah. Because this one I wouldn't say was good with women because he really just didn't do too well. I mean, granted, he was trying to get with the girl who was the psychology major that we said broke the trope. So I guess if you were following the trope, she would have been with him, I'm guessing.
Right.
But regardless, I didn't think he was that good looking or anything.
Well, he had high sights and high goals. I will give him that.
Right.
But yeah, that was really uncomfortable. He did not approach it the right way at all. Like, he just made me uncomfortable watching him hit on her when they're alone at the van and he jumps out of the dark. Yeah. I can't. No. Who thought that was a good idea to jump out of the woods at someone in the dark?
I don't know. So I did want to mention, because this podcast is being released right before Memorial Day weekend, that the murderer in the movie, which I guess since we always do spoilers, I can say ends up being Chad. His murder, he was known for the Memorial Day Massacre. I think his father was the Memorial Day Massacre.
Well, his mother and father were both at that. His mother was a victim, and his father was the actual killer, who was a hillbilly, as it turns out. Spoilers again.
Right. And what was that trope that they were trying to follow? Because he's like, you're half hillbilly, and he's like, no. Like, what was that following another movie? Like, you're half something, like related to something?
I thought it was not related to horror movies, but the whole Luke, I am your father.
Oh, yeah, no, I didn't get there at all, but okay.
Well, just the whole twist where it's him all along, and then.
Gotcha. Okay, that makes sense. I didn't follow that at all, but that makes sense.
That's right. So we have to mention the Friday the 13th video game.
Oh, with the Chad
With
character?
Chad. Chad, I think it's Kensington, right?
I believe so.
Who wears a sweater.
Well, I thought it was a cardigan, but you say that there's a difference between a cardigan and...
I don't really know. I'm just thinking that there is, because a cardigan to me is the button-down sweater that Mr. Rogers used to wear.
I just didn't know you couldn't tie that around your neck. Didn't Mr. Rogers tie it around his neck?
No, I don't think so. I think the one that you tie around your neck doesn't have buttons on the front, because then you can tie it and it doesn't...
Mr. Rogers didn't tie his sweater around his neck?
I don't think so.
Oh, now I'm Googling that.
I really don't think he did. I think he wore a cardigan, which is different
than
a sweater that you tie in that weird preppy bullshit knot and wear around your shoulders.
You're very close to it, Chad, so I will take your word for it.
Great.
Look at that. You won an argument.
I'm 1 for 100,000.
Yeah, so proud of you. Any pretentious argument, I'll let you have.
Great.
You have one up every time.
So I read that there may be a sequel to this movie.
Ooh, really? When?
I was on that. It's kind of waffling back and forth. So there are rumors of a sequel, and then the characters Tucker and Dale, Alan Tudyk and Tyler Labine, say that there is a sequel, but it's not very good, and they're holding off, and then they're going to see if they can get a better person to write it, because they're worried about damaging their cult classic status, because it is a movie that is slowly becoming, like Scott Pilgrim actually, it's becoming a cult classic, and then people are in love with this movie because the characters are so endearing, at least from Tucker and Dale's side.
Right. I mean, when it came out, it had 100% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's impressive.
Yeah. Currently, it has 90%, which is still impressive.
For a horror comedy movie.
Right. And a lot of the interviews I read about it, or listened to about it, they were saying that they were the first of their kind, and I just wasn't sure what they were referring to.
I can't understand how they say that when there are movies like Shaun of the Dead. There's movies for other comedy. Scream, or Scary Movie, rather.
But it must be like the buddy horror comedy movie type. There must be like a specific part of the genre that they're talking about, because they say it in like every interview, so... If anybody knows what they're referring to, the first of its kind, because I'd be curious to see if there's been any of that type of movie after this movie, but I need to know what the actual kind is before I can look for that.
Can't come up with a way to distinguish it between Shaun of the Dead, which came out before, and Scary Movie that came out before.
Shaun of the Dead is buddy. I don't know.
So I don't know, because those to me seem like the first of their genre in terms of spoofing horror, whereas this one came out well after.
Yeah, I mean, so this one came out in 2010. Shaun of the Dead came out in 2004. Yeah. So I'm not sure. But anyways, before we wrap up, I did want to do the audience ask section, because we asked on Twitter, and a lot of people gave us some good questions. So the first question is from the Two Dads Review podcast. He said, which other horror films that is not a parody could the logic of this film be applied to, where the bad guy is just misunderstood and the heroes are just asshole kids?
So... I had said something and I forgot what it was. What did I say? Do you remember? When we talked about this earlier?
No, I remember what I said, but I don't remember what you said.
Great. Where the kids are not to blame.
Oh, you said Leslie Vernon.
Oh, right. The Leslie Vernon, or I don't remember what it's called, but it's The Rise of Leslie Vernon.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never seen the movie, so I can't help you here.
Which is a little bit off. It's not quite what they're asking for, but it's a movie that is in the same vein, where it's a horror comedy. It follows the serial killer, and he's the main character, and you connect with him on a personal level because you spend more time with him during the movie, and he's like a nice guy. He just kills people. So I would say that is off the top of my head. You had another one.
Yeah, so I thought Lights Out was pretty similar. Now, granted, the Lights Out guy was harboring some lady or something. I can't exactly remember the whole movie, but he wasn't a great guy either. But the reason he was killing the people that he was killing in the movie was because they broke in and he was blind, and they were trying to take advantage of that. So it's kind of in the same vein.
It's kind of, they're both horrible, and so he's
less horrible because he's at least justified in his horribleness for the movie.
Right.
And then somebody actually on that same thread commented an answer. The Cabinet podcast said, Friday the 13th, poor Jason's mommy trying to get those kids back for letting her baby boy drown. So
that's fair, actually. Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, I thought they had a better answer than we did, so I just wanted to mention it. And then we had a question on Facebook from a friend of the podcast, Paul, and he said the purpose stated by Tucker is to help him get some man time in because he's having issues with the ladies. Then as soon as he clicks with one, he treats it like a massive headache, almost literally those bee stings. And then there's the control aspect, beers on the canoe. I've always thought about if their friendship was even remotely healthy. So do you think that they had a healthy friendship?
I think they did. They do drink a lot, but that's to play into the hillbilly trope, because that's what hillbillies are known for, is drinking and fishing and being out in the woods. They did drink quite a lot in terms of while they were driving, which we do not condone, and while they're in a boat, which is also very dangerous. You shouldn't drink in boat. But no, I thought they had a good friendship. I mean, Dale went fishing, even though he doesn't really like fishing because of his buddy.
Right. It was cute. But, I mean, I can see what he's saying in that Tucker's constantly pushing him to, like, talk to girls and, like, you know, do all these things. And it puts them in terrible, terrible scenarios. So,
I think he has the best intentions, though, when he's trying to do that. Because he knows that Dale will not do that for himself. And he's trying to be a good friend in terms of getting him out there to the world. Because he sees what a good person Dale is. And he wants other people to see that.
I feel like this is a Disney moment. There should be like...
Well, it just... Those two had very good chemistry. They were very well cast.
Oh, absolutely.
Alan Tudyk, who is from Firefly and a bunch of other things, he's a fantastic actor.
Did Tyler Labine have something to do with Firefly? Because they mention it a lot in their interviews.
I don't know. I only know Alan Tudyk from Firefly, but...
I was just curious because I saw Firefly mentioned on a lot of the interviews, and I didn't know if Tyler Labine had something to do with it.
I don't think so. I think it's only Alan Tudyk.
Okay.
But we're wrapping this up. You had anything else to mention for the giveaway?
Right. So there is a giveaway up on our Twitter. We just extended it. So all you need to do is go onto our Twitter page. There's a pinned post, and you have to like Tie Tie by Design's Instagram, subscribe to us on iTunes, and then just share the post, and you will be entered to win a mug from our Tanya Harding episode. So go over there and do that. And I also needed to say thank you to Jake at Athos Music. And what are we doing next week?
Well, it's your pick next week.
I actually don't remember what we're doing next week, to be honest, at all. So let's check the calendar real quick. We are doing Spotlight next week.
Oh, another Boston movie. We keep having Boston movies.
Well, considering we're from Mass, that's appropriate.
Well, yes, but other people from outside the country are going to be like, these Boston people cannot get out of...
Did you know what movie was not from Boston?
What movie?
Tucker and Dale.
Oh, I didn't know that, actually.
Yeah, well, so now you know. So I'm looking forward to next week.
I'm looking forward to next week. Thank you. And this is Cinematically Correct.